Good day. We've been looking at how to change your life by changing your beliefs. You know, one of the issues that we have and why we stay limited is because we don't actually see God as being limitless. You know, in Proverbs 4 verse 23, it says, "Keep and guard your heart with all vigilance, and above all else that you guard, for out of it flow the springs of life." For me to start experiencing a limitless life, I've got to let go of this image that God is limited. You know, in Psalm chapter 78, it says that the children of Israel, they limited God. They limited God through their unbelief because they didn't see God as being limitless. So to develop a limitless belief, I've got to ask myself whether the promises of God are real or are they just myth. See, if I believe that they're real, then the only thing left for me is to believe them. When I start to believe that the promises of God are actually real, that God Himself has given me a promise, that if I would take that promise and believe it as truth, and I get my heart to connect with that truth, I'll begin to see a limitless God doing amazing things in my life. You know, in Mark chapter 9:23, Jesus said it this way. He said, "All things are possible to those who believe." He didn't ask if you qualified. He didn't ask about your education. He didn't ask you about your past. He didn't ask you about what sins you might have committed or how good you've been. He just says all things are possible to those who believe. Our world is transformed when we begin to believe. Changing my personal world starts with me changing what I believe. Can I see God as being limitless, and that the limitless person of the Holy Spirit lives inside of me? See, as my heart gets persuaded of God's goodness and His limitlessness, then He will do exceedingly abundantly above all that I could ask, think, or even dream of. My beliefs are going to create an expectation, either of good or of bad. How about I take the promises of God and start cultivating hope, an expectation of good, by trusting in the promises of God, by believing that what God has said is real and that it's real for me. My challenge to you today, take a promise of God and begin to speak it over your life. Believe it as true, that this is God speaking to you personally, and that that promise is real, and watch your life change. Always remember, you're highly favored and deeply loved of God.